The email subject line stopped Rachel cold. Saw this. Thought you'd want to know they're calling you a fraud. From Dana Hartley. Attached was a screenshot of a Reddit thread filled with publishing gossip. Rachel scrolled past usernames like LitSleuth91 and Big Five Insider debating whether Rachel Adams, best-selling literary darling, had really written her award-winning novels herself. Heard she had help. Something about NDAs. Her early drafts were circulating under someone else's name. Rachel exhaled slowly. Of course Dana sent this. The woman had been her rival since their days as junior editors in Manhattan, always looking for a crack in Rachel's armor. But Rachel didn't have time to let that ruin tonight. She was already late. Rachel pulled into her parents' driveway in Westlake, Ohio, and stared at the house where she'd grown up. The white colonial with navy shutters, a perfect lawn, and no trace of her. Fresh hydrangeas lined the porch, the same ones Barbara always planted for proper occasions. Rachel knew this wasn't just dinner. It was a showcase. Michael, her older brother, was introducing his fiancée Jessica to the family tonight. Rachel wasn't part of the spotlight. She never was. Inside, her father met her at the door with his usual warm but distant hug. You made it. Everyone's in the living room. As she walked through the foyer, Rachel passed the gallery wall. She paused. Graduation photo of Michael from Yale. Michael shaking hands with a senator. Michael on a boat in Capri. Not a single photo of her, even now. Barbara looked up from the couch when Rachel entered. Finally, she said, we were about to start without you. Traffic was, yes, well, dinner can't wait forever. Rachel, this is Jessica. She gestured to a striking woman beside Michael. Tall, composed, kind eyes. Jessica extended a hand. I've heard so much about you. Michael says you live in New York. I love visiting the city. All good things, I hope. Rachel smiled. Barbara cut in. Let's move to the dining room. The roast has been in for hours. The table was set with fine china. Barbara's special occasion setup. Rachel scanned the seats. Her name card was at the farthest end, opposite Michael and Jessica, next to the serving station. Of course. She sat silently while Barbara launched into wedding talk. Flowers, venue, menu. Jessica's father is a cardiothoracic surgeon, Barbara beamed. They belong to the Shaker Heights Country Club. What do you do again? Jessica asked Rachel kindly. Before she could answer, Barbara chimed in. Rachel does something with books. A magazine or something, right? It's a publishing house, Rachel said evenly. I work with authors. Jessica smiled undeterred. That sounds fascinating. What kind of books? Barbara waved a hand. She's always had her nose in one. Remember that summer we couldn't drag her outside? She turned to Jessica. We had to force her to socialize. Rachel stared at her plate. This was all scripted. She was the quirky disappointment with a vague job in a big city. The backdrop to Michael's brilliance. Jessica leaned in. I'm still figuring out the bridal party. I'd love for you to be a bridesmaid, Rachel. I don't have sisters. It'd mean a lot. Rachel blinked. I'd be honored. That's if Rachel can find time away from her important publishing job, Barbara added, with a smug sip of wine. Michael gave his fiancée a look. Not now, but Jessica didn't flinch. What are you working on currently? Jessica asked, genuinely curious. Rachel hesitated. She could tell them about the film deal, the lecture series, her newest novel, but old instincts flared. Just the usual, she said. Nothing special. Barbara laughed. She's just a nobody with an office job. The table fell silent. Jessica froze. Michael's fork stopped midair. Thomas shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Jessica glanced at Rachel, then slowly reached under the table for her phone. The conversation resumed awkwardly, but Rachel noticed Jessica scrolling, eyes widening. She kept looking up at Rachel, then down again. Excuse me, Jessica said suddenly, cutting Barbara off mid-sentence about cake tears. I hope this isn't rude, but I have to ask. Rachel, are you the Rachel Adams? Barbara blinked. What are you talking about? Jessica turned her phone around. There it was, Rachel's author profile, her books, Penguin Random House, the New York Times Review. National Book Critics Circle Award. Penn Faulkner. A photo of Rachel at a reading in London. Jessica read aloud. Rachel Adams, author of The Weight of Unsaid Things and Beneath Silent Waters, winner of multiple national awards. Named one of the New Yorker's writers to watch. Is that you? Michael leaned over. Holy shit. Barbara reached for the phone, eyes narrowing. This has to be a mistake. Another Rachel Adams. Jessica shook her head. It's not. I read your book last year. I remember your author photo. It was incredible. Michael looked stunned. Why didn't you tell us? Rachel's voice came low but steady. I did. You never listened. Barbara scoffed. That's ridiculous. If you were really that successful, you would have made it clear. I sent you both copies, signed. You put the package in the guest room. It was never opened. Thomas looked down at his plate, ashamed. Jessica's face had softened, realizing what she'd just unearthed. Barbara, not ready to admit anything, asked, If you're so successful, why do you still live in that tiny apartment? Why don't you drive something decent? Rachel smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It's a 2-bedroom in Park Slope, with an office. I take the subway because parking in New York is $700 a month, not because I can't afford a car. Jessica kept reading. Rachel Adams, shortlisted for the National Medal of Arts. Film adaptation in development. Featured speaker at Columbia. Barbara stood abruptly, knocking her wine glass. I need to check on dessert. Jessica touched Rachel's arm. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You didn't do anything wrong, Rachel replied. You just Googled me, something my own parents never thought to do. If you've ever been overlooked after giving your all, type 1. Your story might just be waiting for its own table-turning moment. Rachel hadn't even finished her coffee when the next hit landed. An automated notification popped up on her phone. Legal inquiry, non-disclosure violation. Adams v. Adams? She blinked. The email was from a corporate legal firm, Michael's firm. She tapped in. This is a courtesy notice regarding possible defamation and breach of familial confidentiality via public writing. Please be advised that certain family members believe their likeness has been used without consent. No signature, just an attachment with a redacted draft of The Weight of Unsaid Things, her novel. Highlighted paragraphs, circled sentences, and in the top right corner, a handwritten note. Do you really want to go public with this? Her hand trembled slightly. It wasn't just a letter. It was a warning. 2 nights before, Jessica had Googled her name at the family dinner table. Now Rachel was receiving legal threats from inside her own house. She scrolled through the email again. No mention of names. But the implications were clear. They found the book. They think it's about them. And they're trying to erase it. She called Eleanor Sinclair first. Tell me everything, Eleanor said, crisp as ever. Rachel summarized the letter. Silence. Then Eleanor sighed. Of course it's retaliation. Let me guess. Your brother's fiancée finds out who you are. Everyone panics. And now suddenly you're violating their image. Exactly. They didn't care about your writing until it threatened their narrative, Eleanor said. Now they're scared. You've told the truth. I haven't even used their names. Doesn't matter. The truth is always dangerous to people who've rewritten history. Rachel sat back, the weight pressing harder than ever. They never even read the books. Not until Jessica did, Eleanor replied. And now they're looking for control. Stay calm, and whatever you do, don't apologize. Rachel exhaled. What if this gets ugly? Eleanor's voice sharpened. Then let it. 3 hours later, Barbara called. She didn't mention the email, didn't mention the dinner explosion either. Instead, are you planning to come to the engagement brunch next month? We're doing a seated luncheon at the country club. It's important you don't make it awkward. Rachel stared at the wall. Awkward? Yes, Jessica's family is still talking about the other night. Apparently, you stole the spotlight. That wasn't very gracious. I didn't do anything, Mom. Well, you could have told us, prepared us. I did, Rachel said quietly. Many times. Barbara sighed audibly. Look, We all know you've always been dramatic. There it was. Not, we're proud of you, but you made us uncomfortable. I got a letter today, Rachel said, from Michael's firm. The pause was just long enough to confirm it. What letter? You know what letter. I don't deal with Michael's legal work. Funny, Rachel said, because this one has our family name on it, highlighted passages. Accusations, like you're scared I told the truth. Rachel, her mother said carefully, you've written some very personal things. I just think maybe it's time to let the past go. I mailed you both signed copies of my first book, Rachel said, her voice low. Christmas 3 years ago. You said it was just work mail and left it in the guest room. Barbara didn't respond. I found the box, unopened. Still silence. I wrote a card, too, Rachel continued. Told you I was finally doing what I dreamed of. You never even called. You're being unfair, Barbara said eventually. No, Rachel said. I'm just done pretending. That night, Rachel dug through her digital archives. She found the manuscript draft Dana had once reviewed, and another file, dated 2 months later, emailed to Michael. Subject: Family Dynamics in Narrative. She'd forgotten she sent it. Michael had asked for examples to use in a guest lecture at Harvard. He'd claimed he wanted to support her voice. But now, seeing it again, she noticed something chilling. He'd taken her paragraphs, whole ones, and quoted them in his lecture, without attribution. Rachel checked the timestamp, then cross-referenced it with the highlighted portions in the legal notice. They matched. They were her words. But someone else had used them first, under a university platform, and now they were trying to turn it back against her. She closed the laptop slowly. The betrayal didn't just sting. It hollowed something out of her. The next morning, Jessica texted, "Can we talk?" They met at a quiet cafe near Rachel's hotel. Jessica looked genuinely concerned. I didn't know they were going to do that. The legal thing. I'm so sorry. Rachel nodded once. Not your fault. Jessica bit her lip. Barbara asked me if I'd consider scaling back the bridal party. Said the press attention might distract from the tone of the wedding. She wants me out. I said no. Rachel's eyes met hers. Thank you. Jessica hesitated. Can I ask something? Rachel nodded. Is the weight of unsaid things about your family? Rachel thought about it. It's about a girl trying to be heard. The rest is interpretation. Jessica smiled faintly. Then maybe they should have listened sooner. That evening, Michael called. His voice was stiff. We should talk. I agree. I didn't know the firm sent anything. That was someone else, not me. You used my writing in your lecture, without credit. Silence. I never thought it would come to this, he said. You mean me finally saying something? Rachel, it was never about erasing you. It was always about ignoring me, she said, which is worse. You're blowing this out of proportion. Rachel felt the switch flip, the exhaustion settle. No, Michael, she said calmly. You just don't like what happens when I sit at the table instead of the end of it. Click. If you've ever been told to move on instead of being heard, type 2, because silence doesn't always mean peace. The conference hall buzzed as literary agents, editors, and journalists drifted into the panel labeled Truth in Fiction, Who Owns the Narrative? Rachel Adams adjusted her blazer, heart pounding. She wasn't on stage. She wasn't even supposed to be here. But 10 minutes ago, her phone buzzed with a text from her assistant. Dana's here. Panel started early. She's using your story, indirectly, but it's you. You need to see this. Now Rachel stood at the back of the room, half concealed behind a pillar, staring at the woman on stage with the mic in hand. Dana Hartley, polished, poised, and suddenly dangerous. I think it's important, Dana was saying, that we recognize how much of what we call authorship today is really collaborative. Ghostwriting, silent contributors, it's rarely a solo act. Laughter in the audience. Nods, she continued. Some authors are more brand than writer. They have teams. Sometimes those teams get erased. Rachel felt every muscle tense. Eleanor had warned her. Dana was shopping a narrative behind the scenes, framing herself as the real mind behind certain female-led bestsellers. And now she was planting seeds. But who controls the credit? Dana posed theatrically. The one who drafts the pitch, or the one who polishes the final prose? She looked straight out across the room, straight at Rachel. 2 days earlier, Rachel had met with her literary lawyer, Marcus, in his office overlooking Midtown. "I found something," he said, sliding a thick manila folder across the desk. She opened it. Emails, drafts, edited documents tracked in cloud storage. Dana accessed your early drafts of The Weight of Unsaid Things through the shared editorial system you both used at Brantley House Publishing. Rachel narrowed her eyes. "She was never assigned to your manuscript," Marcus said. "But she logged in 5 times, copied metadata. And here's the kicker. Some of your phrasing appeared in a talk she gave at a Columbia symposium 6 months before your book came out." He leaned back. "It's not plagiarism by textbook standards, but she's building a narrative, enough for whispers, for doubt." Rachel stared at the folder. "Can we stop it?" "Depends," Marcus said. "Do you want to play defense or go on record?" She didn't answer, because she already knew. That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. She sat in her office staring at her framed book covers. Beneath Silent Waters, The Weight of Unsaid Things, 2 books, her voice. Her life, reshaped into fiction. But now that voice was being questioned, co-opted, diluted into collaboration by someone who once dismissed her as lucky. She pulled out the signed contract from her second book, buried in a drawer. Flipping through the pages, her eye caught something. Clause 12B, fine print. All written materials submitted by the author, including early drafts, developmental notes, and character concept files, remain the sole intellectual property of the author unless explicitly stated otherwise. She felt it like a jolt. Her voice was protected, but no one was going to read Clause 12B unless she made them. Back at the panel, Dana wrapped up her monologue. "I'm just saying, maybe the industry needs more transparency about who's actually writing and who's just performing." Rachel stepped forward. People turned. She raised her hand. "Hi, Rachel Adams. Since we're talking transparency, I'd like to clarify something." Dana's eyes widened just slightly. "Of course," she said, smile thin. Rachel took the mic from the moderator, voice steady. "My novels were written alone. No ghostwriters. No silent editors. No co-authors." Polite applause. But Rachel wasn't finished. "And since we're discussing contribution, my former colleague here once logged into my editorial portal, downloaded early drafts without permission, and quoted passages under her name." A few audible gasps. Dana's mouth opened, but Rachel kept going. "All that is time-stamped, documented, and protected by contract, Clause 12B to be exact." Dana went pale. Rachel handed the mic back, turned, and walked out without looking back. Later that evening, back in her apartment, Rachel's phone buzzed again. It was Michael. She let it go to voicemail. Then another text appeared. "Mom just saw the panel replay. She wants to talk. Said you embarrassed the family." Rachel almost laughed. Another message came in, this time from Jessica. "FYI, your mom asked if you plan to attend the engagement party. She's worried you'll make it about yourself again. Just giving you a heads up." Rachel stared at the screen, then typed, "Tell her I'm happy to attend. But if they keep coming for my voice, I'll give them more than just fiction next time." Send. If you've ever had to defend your own voice after someone tried to steal it, type 3. Because fine print doesn't silence real truth. Rachel was halfway through revising her third manuscript when the headline popped up on her screen. Exposed. Dana Hartley's false claims of literary contribution backfire amid legal threat. Byline. New York Times Book Review. She blinked twice. Click. The article was blistering. Emails obtained by Adams's legal counsel confirm that Hartley downloaded early drafts without consent. Hartley's recent panel commentary, implying ghost-written origins behind Adams's novels, now appears not just inaccurate but intentionally misleading. Clause 12B of the contract, cited by Adams in a live panel, effectively ends any further debate. It was done. Rachel stared at her screen in silence, heart pounding, but not from fear this time, not from anxiety or rage or erasure. This time it was something else. Vindication. Her name was in bold, her signature was real, and now it was everywhere. A few hours later, her phone rang. Rachel, it's Dad. She hadn't spoken to Thomas since the engagement dinner fallout. We read the article, he said slowly. Your mother and I, we didn't realize how far it had gone. It went far because no one believed me when I said it was mine, Rachel replied. He sighed. I want you to know, I'm sorry, for all of it. There was a long pause. She's scared, he added quietly. Rachel didn't have to ask who. She said you're planning to read at the engagement party, he continued. She's worried it'll be about her. Rachel felt a bitter laugh rise. That's funny, considering everything else in her life has been. I think, Thomas said cautiously, she wants to apologize. She just doesn't know how. Rachel shook her head. That's not my job to make easy for her. No, he said gently. But maybe it's your chance to decide what your story becomes from here. The engagement party was held at a vineyard just outside Cleveland. Barbara's idea, of course. Classic white tent, crystal glasses, guests in pastel linen. It looked like a curated Instagram ad. Jessica greeted Rachel warmly at the entrance. I'm so glad you came, Rachel smiled. Thanks for holding the line when things got messy. Jessica winked. That's what bridesmaids are for. Inside, Rachel scanned the tables. She nearly stopped walking. Table 1. Her name card was placed beside Michael's and across from Jessica's parents, front and center. No longer the seat at the end. During cocktails, guests approached Rachel with cautious excitement. I just finished The Weight of Unsaid Things, one woman gushed. I cried 3 times. I assigned it to my undergrads, said another. They think you're the new Joan Didion. Barbara watched from a few feet away, clutching a champagne flute. She hadn't approached yet. Michael finally nudged her. Go, he whispered. Rachel turned toward her mother. Barbara approached slowly, not meeting her eyes at first. You look nice, she said. The navy suits you. Thanks.